Today I've got an Agfaflex or an Ambiflex depending on which market it was made for, and this one's just come here for servicing from a local customer, and it's in quite good order. The shutter does work, everything's a little bit stiff, but it's not in bad shape at all. So hopefully all I'm going to have to do is remove and service the shutter and give it a general clean and put it back together. There may be more to it than that. I won't know until I get in. Hopefully it's not full of sand or dirty, sticky, dried out grease or anything else. It generally appears to be in quite good order. So I'll work my way through it. I can start by removing the lens. The release button's on the side here. And it's just a bayonet lens. The lenses are very nicely made. The Agfa lenses were always pretty good, and these are no exception. They're, if anything, they're a much nicer piece of engineering than the camera they fit to. Right, well this Agfaflex, I better start taking the thing apart, I suppose. So we start here. First I'll remove the lens. The release button's just on the side here. Hold that down. The lens just unbayonets. Pop that to one side. And here we have the shutter. Now that's quite dirty around the mount. It'll certainly benefit from a service. There's a few marks around here. I think that's mostly glue round. I can see around the edge there, and that's where those plates have been glued in, and someone's been very free with the adhesive. Okay, so let's be in. It's got 4 screws hold the lens mount onto the front of the shutter. So I'll start by removing those. Pop those screws to one side. There you bugger. That's better. That's our lens mount. Our setting rings for the aperture. Wavy washer spacer. This piece here couples to the aperture. That's what opens the shutter to fully open position for viewing, and the lens aperture as well. This is just the setting button here for setting the aperture, and the shutter speed setting ring. Now we've just got the front of the camera to get off here. It should just be 4 screws. Take this cover off. Now that screw's loose. Also, I'm carefully laying all these parts out in a line so I know where everything came from. Well, if you've seen me work before, you know that's probably not true. plate just comes off complete. And here we have the shutter. So, what connections do we need to remove? Well, this is the coupling here for the meter. There's 2 screws here that need to come out. Leave the one in the centre, that's the adjustment. Leave that exactly where it is, otherwise you will end up disturbing the adjustment. And very likely that won't get you anywhere you want to be. Now there's contacts here, electrical contacts for the flash. There's a terminal screwed on there, so I can take that off. That's the earth side of it, if you like. And that's floating. That's not even soldered on there well. I'll have to solder that. Let's pop that back out the way over there. But the other wire here is soldered in place, so I'll just go and loosen that and come back. Right, well that's dealt with. Now here, this piece of metal, that's actually part of this frame here. Now I don't know whether it caught on the base. No, it can't have caught on the base as I pulled it back, because it wouldn't have been folded back that far. But that's supposed to be down flat, like this corner. It's mutilated for some special reason. I'm going to unhook the return spring from this meter setting arm, if I can just get that off there. That's better. This allows me to hold this back, easier to get access to those screws. So, I'm getting buried in stuff here, just about. The shutter, how's it held to the body? There are 4 screws. Now those 4 screws are sitting in the middle of adjustable bushes. The bushes are used to adjust the lens to film plane distance. So don't disturb them, just make sure you remove the screws. And this last one here, harder to get to. Have those screws out. And the shutter should lift off the body. No, what have I forgotten? Oh yes, there's just this piece here. There's a little bracket on the side here. Well, there's 2 pieces of metal here. There's this little bracket, the single screw. That provides some resistance on this meter setting lever, I think. And that screw bracket also holds down this little settings plate on the side, just the name plate for the flash sync settings. Anyway, we can lift this off now. Here's that name plate, pop that to one side. Here's the body. Here's that plate bent up. I have to straighten that up. What a mess. What a weird thing to do. Anyway, back to the job at hand. This is the shutter itself. And I want to make note of where everything fits to. This is quite stiff to cock, and this here is very, very stiff in action. That should be quite free in action. Yeah, the shutter certainly needs to be serviced. Okay, so at the fully cocked position, which is there. I'm going to make a scribe line across there so I know where things sat. So 4 screws hold these retainers in place. Yeah, the complication with doing one of these shutters comes fairly promptly after this, when I've got to knock out 2 pins that are holding gears in place. Take that off. Or shafts in place. Right, one of them is here. There's a pin driven through here, and there's a pin driven through here. Both of those are a bugger to get loose. Oh, that little pinion is just fallen off the front there. That just sits in that position. And take that off so we don't lose it. I've got to drive those pins out. I better get some gear. Right, well, I'm supporting this little gear on my all-purpose block of wood. And I can see the pin that's driven in there, and I'm going to try and drive it out. Now what I've got here is a tool from a staking set, watchmaker's staking set. It has a fine enough end on it that I think I can drive that pin loose. We'll soon find out. It's moving. I can see it sticking halfway out there. I'm going to try and wriggle that the rest of the way out with a pair of pliers, I think. No, I can't get a good enough grip on that. I'll have to drive it out further. See if I can get this punch in from this side easier. I might need something else again. I think a broken off drill bit will be the thing. Here I've got the broken off end of a small drill bit, which I'm going to use as a punch. If I can get the thing to go in there. The right diameter. Yeah, appears to be. Right, back where I was. It's one of those jobs that only requires that you have 3 or 4 hands. I can't even get this lined up. Yeah, can I get it? No, I still can't get to that. To drive it out further than that. This pin will just have a crush mark in the centre of it to make sure so that it jams in the gear. See if I've got another pin I can use. That is too big. I'm sure this should go. This would be one of the main reasons I dislike doing these Agfaflex Agfaflex, they're the same thing. Let's see if I can get that. Now I can't grip that with the pliers at the angle it's at. I'll have to drive that out back when I've succeeded. Well, that's pin number 1 removed, and what I used in the end to do this was this sewing needle with the ends ground off in the Dremel. Now I can pull that little gear off that shaft. And then I've got to deal with another pin running through this lever here, and I'll have to deal with that in the same fashion, I'd say. If I can get to it easily. Hopefully this one won't fight quite so much. It's moving. If it's moving, it's not moving much. Oh, now it's going. That's it. It's out. No fighting involved. Right, so we've got our 2 pins. The 2 pins are different diameters, just to make life entertaining. Of course, they're quite small, and like anything quite small, quite easily lost. So put those away somewhere safe, where you can find them when you want them. Now that little lever should lift off that shaft. Let's find some more muscly looking tweezers there, otherwise I'll end up buggering my good tweezers. Here we go, that lifts off. This has a pin on the back which couples into that hole, and there's a small collar in here. Small brass collar, so don't lose that. Well, this lever can come off the back because that's not doing anything useful except obstructing us. What have we got here? More of the same to deal with. These 2 screws need to come out, and this piece here covers, that's the guide bush for that shaft, but that shaft has a coupling screw that needs to come out. Take those 2 screws off, take off that cover, and here is the screw revealed. We need to have that screw out because otherwise I can't pull the shutter out of the case. Where are my glasses?